It seems like he's ready to go. Just what do you hope he can accomplish tonight? What are you looking for in his game that'll give him a pass today?
Just want him to recover and have a good night. He used the tools that he has, be an effective player, and as I said before we sat him out, have a positive impact on the game. Sometimes you don't score. You still got to find a way to have that positive impact. So we'll be there to support him. He'll get an opportunity, just like all the other players that come back into the lineup, and we're hoping he has a real good, solid night.
Todd, what as a staff do you do with a player when he's sitting out over a period of time? What kind of work do you do with him individually behind the scenes, and what's that process like to get him there?
There's a lot that goes on. You've got to watch that you don't overdo it, because you can anytime a player sits out, his confidence is dinged a little bit. But if you overdo it, you analyze, you over video, then he becomes even more confused and he thinks. One of the things that we've been doing with our younger players is as they sit out, instead of being in the weight room or just sitting in the stands or press box, whatever, they've been sitting with the coaching staff upstairs, and they've been going through different situations or scenarios, clarifying language, making sure that some of the situations that we've talked to them about, they see and they can analyze from way up high. And as you guys all know, it's pretty slow up there. And they get to see it evolve. They get to analyze it from up in that area when they don't have to be in stressful situations. And some of the questions that both Manny Viveros and Dustin Schwartz, who've been sitting with these players, have been real good ones. They're willing to work on their game when they're not involved in the lineup. And the clarification has come up there if there was any confusion. So it's been a good experience so far, probably a positive thing to do, and now we hope it transfers over to the ice surface.
Doug, you said at the start of the season you just need wins from your backup. You'd only had 5 each of the last 2 years. Koskinen got a win in a place you hadn't won in a long time. He'll start tonight. What did you like about his game, and what are you looking for? And especially with the back-to-back coming up next week, it looks like he might get into a little bit more of a...
Yeah, we'd like to find a rhythm, but more importantly than the rhythm is the wins, as you said. And you started the question out by mentioning that. And Mikko played in a tough environment, tough road trip, without a morning skate or anything like that. And he played extremely well in Nashville. I felt like he instilled confidence in our group. I think it was a breakaway early in the game that he made a stop on, and everybody said, okay, Mikko's here, we better get going. And it helped our team out. He looked confident. He looked under control. He handled rebounds well. He understood the tempo and the momentum of a game, when to get whistles, which is important for a goaltender. I feel really good about putting him in there tonight, and I know he feels good about playing, so it's a good combination.
Todd, Chicago is a team that still scores in bunches, I guess. How important is it? On Sunday, you guys did a good job of kind of playing that defensive style game against them. Do you have to kind of have a similar approach tonight?
Well, you can play defensive against them. They still find ways because they're pretty gifted. Obviously, their two top forwards alone can drive offense and drive lines, and they create differently. Kane with his motion and his vision, Taves with his checking ability, and then the ability to turn pucks over. So you've got two different issues on two different lines. We will have to be solid defensively. We've found that 3 is a pretty significant number in the league. Teams that get to 3 first tend to win a game. That wasn't the case against Minnesota. Obviously, 4 was in the number that night. But if we can keep teams to under that, we feel we have a real good opportunity to beat anybody in the league.
Todd, over with the Hawks, they've got obviously several weapons with Kane and Taves, as well as guys on defense. Former line mate of Connor's, Alex DeBrincat, is making a name for himself over there. What's your take on his play and what makes him successful?
Well, their coaching staff would know him better than I do, but based on my observations, he's a hell of a player. A smaller player in stature, but big as far as his ability to hold people off and create space and time for himself and for others. Similar to a guy like Yamo in our situation, but he's got a lot of confidence. He knows where to go and how to finish plays. He obviously had that in junior. He's playing with one hell of a playmaker there, and he's been able to carry it up and play with a couple other guys that can do that. So he's a heck of a player.
Todd, Ryan Strome was saying he's gone through the first month, no points. It doesn't look good. He said it'd be easier if he was playing brutal and had no points, but he's playing, in his mind, not too bad. What do you see from his game that he can get over the hump and at least get some points?
Well, defensively, he's been in pretty good position. He hasn't given up a lot. You know, the 3-on-3 goal, he kind of pivots the wrong way, and Crosby can do that to a lot of players. But other than that, he's done a pretty good job defensively. It's just we need more from him on the offensive side without cheating. And we look at his shooting distance. We look where he's been shooting from. We've had these conversations with him in the past. And, you know, in my opinion, most of the goals are scored in and around that blue paint. You'll get the odd one. You may be a 5-goal scorer if you're scoring from the tops of the circles consistently. You want to be a 15-goal scorer, get your nose dirty and get involved around the blue paint. And he can do a little bit more of that. We had a chat about that this morning. And I don't want him to give up his defensive responsibilities because it's been good, but we do need more from him on the other end of the ice surface. See you tonight.